There is one mistake I see in almost every Christian organization I work with. Churches, nonprofits, faith-based businesses. It doesn't matter the size, the budget, or the denomination, or how long they've been around. And the reason it's so hard to fix is that it doesn't look like a mistake, it looks more like a virtue. In fact, if you tried to even point it out, most leaders would probably defend it. They would call it humility. They'd call it servant leadership, or even quote Jesus. And sadly, they would be wrong. My name is Shane, and we've been in local church ministry for over a decade. And now we're helping with churches and boards and staffs, and we're a consulting firm that works specifically with leaders and organizations. I've had this conversation in more boardrooms or elder meetings, staff retreats, and one-on-ones than honestly I could probably count. And I want to be clear, what I'm about to say comes from a place of deep respect to understand who I am as a Christian leader. The people I work with are some of the most dedicated, most sincere leaders I've ever met. That's what makes this mistake so painful, because it's not coming from bad character, it's coming from a misapplied theology. So let's name it. Confusing niceness with leadership. The number one mistake I see in Christian organizations is this: leaders who have confused being nice with being good. Niceness avoids the hard conversations. Goodness has it anyways. Niceness tells the people what they want to hear. Good news tells them what they need to hear. Niceness keeps the pace. Goodness builds something worth having peace in. Christian leaders are disproportionately susceptible to this because we are formed in communities that praise gentleness, praise peacemaking, and humility, all of which are genuine virtues, but somewhere in the formation, many leaders absorb a distorted version that sounds like this: a good Christian leader doesn't make people feel uncomfortable. And that belief, quietly operating beneath the surface, will slowly destroy your organization. Because leadership, real leadership, is fundamentally about moving people from where they are to where they need to be. And that process is, if we're honest, rarely comfortable. So what it actually costs, let me show you what it looks like in practice, because I want you to be able to recognize it. It looks like the staff member who's been underperforming for 2 years, and nobody has told them that directly. There have been hints, there's been softballs, there's been hopefully he'll come around. There's been gentle conversations that felt like feedback but really weren't. There has even been maybe a restructured of job description designed around the problem instead of actually addressing the problem and solving it. It looks like the elder board that everyone knows has a dysfunctional dynamic, and the lead pastor has decided that preserving unity means not addressing it. So the dysfunction continues and grows, and eventually it's not a dynamic that breaks apart, it's the team. It looks like the vision that never gets executed because the leader is too conflict averse to push through the resistance. So the org just stays comfortable. It stays small, but it stays stuck. And here's the real cost that nobody talks about. The people who are performing well end up leaving, because high performers don't stay in environments where mediocrity is not addressed. They read the culture correctly. They see that the standard is comfort and not excellence. And they find somewhere their contribution actually matters. So in trying to be nice to the underperformer, you lose the high performer. That trade happens in organizations everywhere, but it happens constantly in Christian organizations because the language of grace almost gets weaponized to protect inaction. Here's what Jesus actually modeled and shows us. Now let me make a theological case here, because I think this is where the confusion actually starts. People point to Jesus as a model of a servant leader, and he absolutely was. But they selectively read Jesus in a way that strips out everything that was uncomfortable. That's the only lens that they're looking at it from. And when you do that, you don't get the servant leadership side. The Jesus of the Gospels flips tables. He told religious leaders they were whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside but dead on the inside. He looked at his closest friends and said things like, "Get behind me, Satan, and how long must I put up with you?" He walked into the most controlled religious environment of his day and created a scene. None of that was nice. Hear me, all of it was good. All of it was good. And then look at how he led his team. He constantly challenged them. He asked hard questions. Who do you say I am? Why are you afraid? Do you still not understand? He didn't manage his disciples' comfort. He managed their growth. There's a significant difference there. Hebrews 12 says that the Lord disciplines the one he loves. And that discipline in the moment is not pleasant. It's painful. And then it produces a harvest. The most loving thing a leader can do is not protect people from difficulty. It's actually to develop them through the difficult times. What courageous leadership actually looks like. What does it actually look like to break through this pattern? Because I don't want just to name the problem. I want to give you something that you can actually use as well. So first, separate the relationship from the feedback. The reason most leaders avoid hard conversations is that they're fused to things that need to be separated. Their care for the person and their assessment of the person's performance or behavior. When those are fused together, any critique feels like an attack on the relationship. And to protect the relationship, the critique never happens. The fact is, learning to hold both at the same time. Man, I really do value you. I value you, and I need to tell you the truth. Not one or the other. It's both. That's exactly what Paul means in Ephesians 4 when he's saying, speak the truth in love. Truth without love is brutality. You need both in the room simultaneously. Second thing, build a culture where feedback is normal, not exceptional. The reason hard conversations feel so dramatic in most organizations is that they only happen at crisis points. Feedback has to build up enormous pressure before it can get released. And by then, it's pretty explosive rather than productive. The organizations I've seen that do this well have built in regular, normalized feedback loops into their rhythms. It's regular check-ins with real questions. It's annual reviews with honest assessments. A team culture where saying, I think we can do this better, is a sign of investment, not aggression. Number 3 is ask yourself the hard question. This one is personal. Before you decide that staying quiet is the gracious choice, ask yourself honestly, is this grace or is this fear? Because in my experience, most of what gets labeled as pastoral patience is actually conflict avoidance, wearing a spiritual costume. Grace and fear can look identical from the outside. The difference is on the inside. And only you know which one is driving you in this moment. So here's the summary. The number one mistake in Christian organizations is confusing niceness with goodness. Niceness avoids discomfort. Goodness moves through it. Jesus was good. And the leaders who built the organizations and the teams and the churches that last are the ones who learn to be both truthful and loving simultaneously. They're not separated, not alternatively. If this video describes something in your organization or something in you, then I'd be so encouraged just to sit with you and hear your story. Here's a question. What conversation am I avoiding right now? And why? If you want support building the kind of leadership culture where conversations happen well, that's the core of our work here that me and my wife do. Link is in the bio. You can drop a comment. I want to know, what's the hardest relationship conversation you've ever had? Or maybe it's, what is the hardest leadership conversation you're about to have? Is it grace? Is it fear that's preventing you? Does it cost you to have it? And what happens if you don't have it? Subscribe for new videos. New videos always come out Mondays and Thursdays, so we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.